Imagine waking up one morning to discover that every law passed, every president elected, every war fought, and even every economic crisis was not the result of democracy, but the secret hand of the Illuminati pulling the strings. What would America look like if the most powerful conspiracy theory of all time was actually true? The hidden hand. It begins like any ordinary day in America. The flag still waves proudly over the Capitol. Politicians still shake hands in front of cameras, and citizens line up at polling stations, believing their vote matters. But in this world, behind the curtain of democracy, the true power belongs not to elected officials, but to a secret council, the Illuminati. For generations, they have pulled the strings, hidden in the shadows, ensuring that no law is passed, no president is elected, and no war is fought without their approval. Imagine the 2024 election. Citizens gather, campaign ads flood the airwaves, debates dominate television. But in reality, the winner has already been chosen years before. The candidates on stage are not rivals, but carefully selected actors auditioning for a role. The Illuminati controls the outcome, not through ballot stuffing, but by quietly guiding public opinion. Social media trends, viral stories, even scandals are released at the right moment, ensuring Americans feel they are making a free choice, when in truth, every path leads exactly where the Illuminati intended. Inside the White House, the story is no different. Presidents, even the most powerful in history, are nothing more than spokespersons. In public, they speak of freedom, unity, and the American dream. In private, they receive instructions from figures who are never named, never elected, never acknowledged. These shadowy advisors do not sit in Congress, yet they decide which bills will live or die. They do not wear military uniforms, yet they determine when and where American soldiers will fight. For the average American, life feels normal. They go to work, pay taxes, and argue about politics at the dinner table, but none of it truly matters. Every protest, every vote, every victory is part of a script written long before the people ever arrived on stage. The illusion of choice keeps the nation calm, distracted, and proud of its democracy, while the hidden hand moves quietly behind the scenes. The chilling part is how invisible it all feels. If the Illuminati truly controlled the government, there would be no need for obvious force, no tanks in the streets, no soldiers at polling places. Instead, their power would thrive in subtlety. A whisper to a news anchor, a phone call to a corporate CEO, a rumor planted in a senator's ear, small actions that create massive waves. And by the time the public reacts, it is already too late. The decision has been made. But here is the most unsettling thought. Maybe Americans would never know. Generations could live and die believing in freedom while never realizing it was a carefully crafted illusion. Democracy becomes theater, the Constitution becomes a prop, and the true script is written in secret chambers by a group the people will never see. And so, the question lingers. What if the United States has never truly been free at all? What if the government Americans trust has always been nothing more than a mask, worn to hide the face of the Illuminati? Everyday life under control. If the Illuminati secretly controlled the U.S. government, their power wouldn't only be seen in elections or the White House. It would quietly seep into the everyday lives of ordinary Americans. Imagine waking up in your suburban home, turning on the morning news, and sipping coffee while headlines flash across the screen. You trust the anchor's voice. You trust the facts. But what if every story you're hearing has been carefully approved, rewritten, or planted by a hidden hand? The media, in this world, is not a free press, but a tool. Every newspaper headline, every Hollywood blockbuster, every viral TikTok trend becomes part of a vast system of influence. Americans believe they are choosing what to watch or read, but the options themselves have already been designed. Perhaps your favorite superhero movie subtly normalizes certain political ideas. Maybe the most popular TV dramas encourage values that align with Illuminati goals. Even comedians making late-night jokes about politicians could secretly be reinforcing the narrative chosen by those in the shadows. Think about the classroom, too. From the first day of kindergarten to the final lecture in college, what if every history book, every civics lesson, every exam question was built to keep young Americans thinking within certain boundaries? Children would grow up reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, never realizing that their understanding of freedom, patriotism, and government had been shaped by invisible authors. They wouldn't need chains or guards to keep them obedient. The ideas in their minds would be the perfect prison. In workplaces across the country, the same quiet control unfolds. Algorithms track productivity, social media filters shape opinions, and advertising steers consumer desires. Even the apps on your phone could serve as hidden tools, collecting data not just for profit, but to map out your behavior, your preferences, your fears. Imagine a system where the Illuminati doesn't need to control every individual personally. They simply adjust the flow of information, and society falls in line on its own. Storytelling. Picture a family in Ohio. The father believes he is choosing which news channel to watch, but both sides of the political spectrum are actually owned by companies linked to the same unseen masters. The mother joins an online debate, convinced she is fighting for truth, but the argument itself was sparked by a planted rumor designed to divide. Their teenage daughter dreams of becoming a pop star, singing lyrics written by anonymous songwriters who inject subtle messages into her music. And their young son plays video games where storylines normalize surveillance, control, and obedience. The family thinks they are free thinkers, but in reality, their choices have been narrowed without them ever noticing. This is the true genius of hidden control. You don't need to chain people when you can guide their thoughts. The Illuminati, in this scenario, doesn't just run the government. They shape culture, entertainment, education, and technology. And by doing so, they achieve something no tyrant in history has ever fully managed. A society where the people willingly obey, all while believing they are free. Power, money, and war. If the Illuminati truly controlled the U.S. government, their influence would not stop at politics or culture. It would run through the lifeblood of the nation, money and war. Every boom in the stock market, every devastating recession, every overseas conflict might not be the product of chance or policy, but the deliberate moves of hidden rulers shaping America's destiny. Picture Wall Street. Traders cheer as numbers flash green, fortunes made in minutes. But what if those sudden rises and crashes are not random, not the product of supply and demand, but carefully engineered? A secret group could easily manipulate interest rates, direct corporate bailouts, or crash the housing market, all to gain power. Ordinary Americans would lose homes, jobs, and savings, while behind closed doors, the Illuminati would profit from the chaos they created. And the most chilling part? The public would never know. They would blame politicians, bankers, or bad luck, never realizing the same hidden council orchestrated it all. Now imagine the Pentagon. In this world, the Illuminati doesn't just watch from afar. They whisper in the ears of generals and defense contractors. Wars are not fought for freedom or democracy, but for hidden agendas, resources, territory, control. A president may stand on television and declare that America must defend itself, but behind the cameras, he knows the decision was made long before. Oil in the Middle East, rare minerals in Africa, strategic dominance in Asia, every battle, Every deployment, every drone strike becomes a chess move on a board most Americans will never see. Storytelling. Picture a young soldier from Texas. He enlists to serve his country, believing he is protecting freedom. He marches through deserts, jungles, and ruined cities, risking his life. Back home, his family hangs the flag and prays for his safe return. But what if his mission isn't about defense at all? What if he's fighting in a war designed by men in secret rooms, men who never hold a rifle but profit from every bullet fired? The soldier bleeds while corporations grow rich, and the Illuminati tighten their grip on global power. Money and war are twin engines of control. When the economy thrives, Americans feel safe and loyal. When it collapses, they become desperate, willing to accept any solution, even if it means surrendering freedoms. When the nation is at war, patriotism burns bright, criticism fades, and unity is forced through fear. By mastering both money and war, the Illuminati could guide America through cycles of prosperity and crisis, keeping citizens trapped in a loop where every path leads back to them. The most terrifying part? This control wouldn't feel like tyranny. It would feel like history, like the natural ups and downs of life. Presidents would give speeches, economists would publish reports, and generals would salute, all while never revealing that the script had been written for them. And so, the American people would continue living their lives, paying taxes, sending their children to war, never realizing that the real government doesn't sit in Washington. It sits in the shadows, counting profits and planning the next move. The big reveal. For centuries, the Illuminati's greatest strength has been secrecy. They move in silence, weaving influence so skillfully that most Americans never suspect a thing. But what if, one day, the mask slipped? What if the hidden hand decided it was time to step out of the shadows and reveal itself to the American people? Picture this. A breaking news alert flashes across every screen in the country. The president steps to the podium, but instead of addressing the nation in his own words, he introduces a group of unknown faces, figures dressed in immaculate suits, their eyes cold, their presence commanding. "We are the true leaders of the United States," one of them says calmly. "We have guided your nation for generations. Every law, every election, every war has been ours, and now we no longer hide." The country erupts. Protests flood the streets of New York, Washington, Los Angeles. Some Americans rage, waving flags and chanting for freedom. Others collapse into shock, unable to believe that the democracy they cherished was nothing more than theater. Trust evaporates overnight. The Constitution, once sacred, feels like a script written by puppeteers. In homes across America, families gather around televisions in disbelief. Some refuse to accept it. This must be fake news, propaganda, a trick. Others connect the dots, recalling every strange coincidence in politics, every inexplicable war, every sudden financial collapse. For them, the revelation is confirmation of their darkest suspicions. Conspiracy theories once dismissed as nonsense are now undeniable truth. The government as people knew it begins to unravel. Senators and representatives, stripped of their importance, resign in shame or fury. The Supreme Court, once the highest authority of justice, is revealed to have been powerless all along. Even the military, the pride of the nation, must confess that it has always answered to orders from above, orders that never came from the Oval Office. But here is the twist. Not everyone resists. Some Americans welcome the Illuminati's rise. Tired of endless political division, corruption scandals, and broken promises, they see stability in this new order. At least someone has been running things competently, a businessman might say. Maybe this is better than chaos. To them, democracy was messy, unpredictable, and frustrating. The Illuminati's open rule feels like a cure, a guarantee that the strongest hand is guiding the nation. The divide grows sharper. Freedom versus order, rebellion versus obedience. In the streets, clashes break out between protesters who demand liberty and loyalists who embrace control. The country teeters on the edge of civil conflict, not between Republicans and Democrats, but between believers in democracy and believers in the hidden order. The Illuminati, calm and unshaken, continue their announcement. "We are not your enemies," they declare. "We are the reason America stands as the most powerful nation on earth. We have protected you from collapse, guided you through crisis, and shaped your future. Without us, you would have destroyed yourselves long ago." And with those words, the unthinkable becomes reality. The secret rulers of America step into the light. No longer whispers, no longer theories, but a chilling truth staring every citizen in the eye. America's future under the Illuminati. The revelation has shattered America. With the Illuminati now openly in control, the country faces a choice unlike anything in its history: submission or rebellion. The future, once uncertain but free, now feels like a road paved by unseen architects, and the question is, where does that road lead? Imagine the first year after the reveal. Elections are abolished. There is no longer a need to pretend. Congress becomes a ceremonial building, its chambers empty, its debates silent. Instead, directives come directly from the Council of Shadow Rulers. Laws are passed without votes, wars declared without discussion, and policies implemented without consent. The illusion of democracy is gone. What remains is pure, centralized power. For some Americans, life continues as if nothing changed. The streets are still lit, food still fills the grocery stores, jobs still exist. Children go to school, workers punch clocks, families gather at dinner tables. But beneath the surface, there's a haunting awareness. Every aspect of life is being monitored, directed, and shaped. Surveillance becomes absolute. Every phone call, every email, every camera feed connected to the same network of control. Storytelling. Picture a young journalist in Chicago. She dreams of exposing corruption, of telling the truth. But under the Illuminati's reign, every article must pass through censors. She writes an explosive story about hidden wealth, but her editor tells her the piece has been flagged. Hours later, she receives an anonymous message: "Your career or your life? Choose." Terrified, she deletes her work. In this future, truth itself is no longer free. Yet not everyone bows quietly. Underground movements rise. From small towns in Texas to bustling neighborhoods in New York, whispers of rebellion spread. Hackers attempt to break into encrypted systems, leaking files that reveal decades of manipulation. Militias stockpile weapons, preparing for a second revolution. And everyday Americans, once ordinary citizens, are forced to decide: do they live under the certainty of control or risk everything for a chance at freedom? The Illuminati, of course, anticipated this resistance. Their technology is years ahead of anything the public has ever seen. Drones patrol the skies, AI predicts protests before they happen, and financial systems can be shut down with a single keystroke. For every rebel that rises, the Illuminati seem to be 2 steps ahead. But the deeper question is this: what does freedom mean in a world where control feels safer? Parents may choose to stay silent to protect their children. Workers may obey to keep their paychecks. A nation built on revolution may slowly accept submission, not out of love for tyranny, but out of exhaustion from chaos. And in this chilling future, the most terrifying possibility is not that Americans are enslaved, it's that they may choose their chains. In the end, the United States under Illuminati rule becomes a paradox. It is stable, prosperous, and efficient, yet stripped of the very freedoms that defined it. The flag still waves, the anthem still plays, but behind every symbol lies a silent truth. The dream of democracy has ended, and the world watches, wondering not whether the Illuminati will spread their power, but when.